Welcome back. Today we're moving on to our learning target 2, which is to describe the structure and function of local, state, and federal governments. We're going to be focusing on state versus federal governments today. Okay, so for our federal government, we know that the legislative branch is Congress. You also need to make sure you remember that Congress equals the House of Representatives and the Senate. You also need to know that their job is to make laws. Okay. The executive branch of our federal government is led by the President of the United States. Also in the executive branch is the Vice President and the Cabinet. Their job is to execute or enforce the laws. And our judicial branch at the federal level is made up of the Supreme Court and also lower federal courts. So the Supreme Court, the appellate courts, the district courts. Okay, so that's our federal level. And you'll find that our state level is very, very similar. Okay, so in the state of Missouri, our legislative branch is known as the General Assembly. It's the same thing as the federal Congress, only it's in Missouri. Okay, we call it the General Assembly. And it's made of the Missouri Senate and the Missouri House of Representatives. Okay, and the job of the General Assembly, of course, in the state of Missouri is to make laws, same thing as the federal government. Next, we have our executive branch. The executive branch is led by the governor, and the governor, along with the lieutenant governor, the secretary of state, the state treasurer, the auditor, and the attorney general are all responsible for enforcing laws of the state of Missouri. Next, we've got our Missouri judicial branch, which is made up of the Missouri Supreme Court and then lower state courts. Okay, so we have a Missouri Supreme Court and we have a federal Supreme Court. Okay, we have a Missouri legislative branch and we have a federal legislative branch. We have a Missouri executive branch and we have a federal executive branch. Make sure you know that those are two different things. Okay. So federalism, as our system of government that we use, there are many pros and cons to it. There are some good things and some bad things about it, okay? One of the pros of federalism is the size of our nation. Our country is so huge in land size that if we tried to have a confederal system or a unitary system, it probably wouldn't work really well just because everything is so big and so spread out. Another pro of federalism is that the states can serve as laboratories of law. Okay, so if we want to look at how maybe a new type of law or legalizing a new thing, if we want to look at how it might be at the federal level, we can kind of practice in the states and see what it looks like in the states and kind of let all the states work out the kinks. That way, whenever it's applied at the federal level, we've got some things figured out. It also allows for a lot of diversity, right? So we've got different ideas, different groups of people, all coming together in our one country, even though we're all spread out and lots of us have different ideas, okay? Some cons of federalism, though. We could see the emergence of things called factions. Now, James Madison, one of our founding fathers, talked about factions, and these are just different groups that pop up who basically have ideas that may or may not be good for the country as a whole. Okay, so sometimes in our federal system, because we're so big and we're so spread out, we have those little groups that pop up that might have ideas that might kind of go against what we kind of stand for as a country. Okay, and another con of federalism is this idea that there might be some inequality among the states. Like Missouri might have one requirement for people who graduate from high school, and California might have a different requirement. So depending on where you are in the United States, the education or the laws might not be the same. So sometimes that could be, a negative thing of federalism. So with that, I will stop. If you have any questions, let me know.